Xi Jinping's late visit to Middle East in the end of 2020 made headlines, especially in comparison with failed visit by Joe Biden to the same region. This new Chinese policy will change many things in the region, while Joe Biden was not able to do so. But the main difference lies not within Arab countries, but on the other side of the Persian Gulf, Iran. This visit awakened Tehran from the sweet dream they had. It made them face the truth that there is no East for them to count on, that they made a horrible mistake trying to rely on their Eastern friends rather than balance ties with all sides, and this is going to change many things in coming years. My friends, welcome to the new episode of Polit Affairs. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe and to check out other videos. The Iranian government made a huge mistake in recent years. They bargained too much on their powerful Eastern friends. The Islamic Republic was numerously rejected by the West, especially Europe, in their efforts to have normal ties. So they turned to the East, China and Russia. The last example was Donald Trump's unilateral action of pulling out of the nuclear deal, while all parties, including Iran, were still adhering to it. Here, the Islamic Republic of Iran thought it has no choice but to rely on their non-Western friends, and just now they understood this is not going to work for them either. The ceremony of Chinese President Xi Jinping's recent visit to Saudi Arabia has drawn comparison with the banality and the cold atmosphere surrounding US President Joe Biden's trip to the kingdom in July. However, the main difference is that the Saudis organized 3 separate regional summits for the Xi, aside from the bilateral summit, a second summit with 21 Arab leaders, and a third one with 7 rulers of the Persian Gulf Cooperation Council, or the GCC countries. The 3-in-1 conveyed a big signal that the Saudi Arabia stands at the heart of the Chinese-Arab war diplomacy. It is in sharp contrast with the transactional relationship that the historic US-Saudi alliance has been reduced to. Indeed, the nearly 36 energy and investment deals during Xi's visit will preserve the core of the strategic interests of Saudi Arabia and China. They encompass frontier areas such as information technology, green energy, cloud services, infrastructure, and health, and inject a greater sense of alignment between Saudi Arabia's economic diversification pivot known as the Vision 2030 and the China's Belt and Road Initiative. Clearly, the signing of the harmonization plan between the Vision 2030 and the BRI is a game changer. Particularly noteworthy is China's strong endorsement of the Saudi stance on Yemen, stressing the importance of supporting the Yemeni Presidential Leadership Council against the Houthis. This is obvious that the Saudi Arabia could become a key ally for China, as Beijing doesn't have those red lines Western countries have. The Chinese won't regret Crown Prince Bin Salman for this totalitarian government, for actions against human rights, and so on. Also, these close relations would give Bin Salman a huge leverage to control Tehran through China. This move also has many secondary effects. Saudi Arabia is getting close to China and at the same time giving more room to Russia, at least in the oil market. And all these are happening when United States asked Bin Salman not to do so. Therefore, this is a big change of stance and especially very dangerous for America. But I think the main result this visit had was not all we said. It was actually in Tehran. Unsurprisingly, Xi's Saudi visit caused disquiet in Tehran. The joint statement says, in a veiled reference to Iran, Chinese side expressed support for the kingdom in maintaining its security and stability and affirmed its opposition to any actions that would interfere in the internal affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and rejects any attacks targeting civilians, civilian facilities, territories, and Saudi interests. This is clearly a message to Tehran. However, Iran has chosen to ignore all this and instead zeroed in on a particular passage in the China-GCC joint statement to vent its displeasure. The leaders affirmed their support for all peaceful efforts, including the initiative and endeavors of the United Arab Emirates to reach a peaceful solution to the issue of the 3 islands, Greater Tom, Lesser Tom, and the Abu Musa through bilateral negotiations in accordance with the rules of the international law and to resolve this issue in accordance with international legitimacy. First of all, I should tell you that this claim by UAE is absolutely not reliable because just look at history. 100 years ago, where was this country? Tehran took this as a message that Beijing ignored the Iranian stance that this issue is a non-negotiable and concerns the country's territorial integrity. Iranian commentators and officials have alleged that China appeared to be taking side in this dispute. The Chinese ambassador was summoned to the Iranian Foreign Ministry and President Ebrahim Raisi has voiced displeasure. Of course, Iran has a promising partnership with Russia, but that is a geopolitical issue with variables subject to the twists and turns of Moscow's confrontation with the West under the conditions of sanctions. Meanwhile, the dead end in the nuclear negotiations in Vienna precludes Iran's normalization with the West. In the end, Tehran can only blame itself. First of all, it was wrong to put all of eggs in one basket. Tehran showed China that it has no desire to rebuild ties with the West and Europe. It showed that China is the only savior they have. So China felt free to do what it wants, not worrying about any possible fury inside Iran. Even if Tehran wanted to prioritize China over other powers, it was not able to do it. China signed a 25-year strategic agreement with Iran costing around $400 billion and Tehran was not able to hold it. I mean, if you choose to turn to one side, at least get all you can. Besides, China always has a pragmatic policy. In this case, they look at Iran. They see a country with too much domestic problems, not sure how to overcome economic issues, and not able to satisfy its people. Why should it trust a long-term cooperation with Iran? Now, Tehran has taken the message. This is the mistake they made regarding Baku and Turkey too. The Islamic Republic maintained its false foreign policy in the last 2 decades. Despite all warnings, trusting some countries more than they should have. And now they are realizing what a grave mistake they made. The path is clear. In order to overcome difficulties, the governments must satisfy its people first. You cannot be a power while your people are demonstrating on the streets and you don't care at all. Then it should work on decreasing tensions in its relations with the West. China must know, if it chooses to break the balance in the Middle East, it will face new challenges. For example, Iran can also work with Taiwan. Why not? India has always been more than happy to work with Iran, especially in Chabahar port. So why not? Who knows? Maybe in long term, Saudi Arabia would become China's main ally in Middle East, and Iran will have to stand against their ambitions. Thanks for watching and spending your precious time with me.